plots. Chad Sweet is a former CIA official, former chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security. He joins us live from Washington this morning. Chad, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Ali.
Chad, there have been the expected responses from Iranian officials who say this is nonsense, this is a fabrication. In fact, they've used very colorful language to describe what a fabrication it is. Do we really know that it's not? I mean, let's just be cynical for a second. This sounds quite grand and fascinating.
No, I think it's classic Iranian MO to try to put this back on us and to try to make them look like the victim. But I can assure you that Attorney General Holder and FBI Director Mueller would not have made the assertive statements they've made if we did not have in our possession a very strong intelligence connecting this plot directly to factions within the Iranian government.
What's your sense of what the Iranians, if they were going to go through with this, were trying to achieve? If you're trying to, there's tough relations between Iran and Saudi Arabia, Iran being mostly Shiite, Saudi Arabia being Sunni, but wouldn't there be an easier way or place to kill a Saudi ambassador than in the United States?
In some respects, no, Ali, because if you think about it, it is virtually unthinkable that they would attempt this type of brazen plot on our soil. To use U.S. soil as a battleground for retaliation against an enemy like the Saudis basically is trying to exploit the fact that the United States has had no attack on U.S. soil since 9/11 other than the Fort Hood shooter and the takedown of one Marine Corps recruiter in Arkansas, which were tragic events. But the bottom line is this is a more safe operating environment, and from that respect, they felt that they probably could pull this off and that they'd have a double cutout in order to provide some level of deniability.
Wow. Interesting that it would be safer or easier to do that somewhere else. What happens next? The Iranian government is saying they have no connection to this whatsoever, but there are two guys in, well, one person in custody, two have been charged, one would be a member of the Iranian Guard. What happens next?
Well, what's extremely puzzling right now is that as they look to take retaliation, in this case, attribution has not been a problem. This individual, Arbab Sia, basically confessed. And in addition, he spent 12 days providing valuable intelligence during interrogations. He even made, it's reported, calls back to Iran, which were obviously traced by us. And so I think the evidence stream here is extremely strong. What's not clear is whether this went all the way up to the supreme leader in Iran, Khomeini. And at the end of the day, that country is composed of different factions. Some are theocrats, some are autocrats, some are democratic reformists, and they often vie for power. So this wouldn't be the first time the Iranian Revolutionary Guard went rogue, but it is clear that because of the evidence trail, Secretary Clinton will have to take extreme measures to move forward on the diplomatic front for sanctions. Yep. And candidly, the evidence trail is so strong that that may not be enough. It may look like more of a wrist slap than a real punishment.
Chad, as you mentioned, not a lot has gotten through U.S. intelligence in the last 10 years, which would lead you to believe that in terms of foiling these plots, at least that we've seen so far, U.S. intelligence is batting something like 1,000. That's not usually a sustainable average.
You're exactly right, Ali. I mean, if you look at other than Fort Hood and Arkansas, the Arkansas recruiter, which any loss of life is tragic. But to go, I don't think any one of us would have bet on 9/12 that we would see over a decade with this level of success and security. And being a former CIA officer, I'll tell you, to get human sources into these sleeper cells is extremely difficult. And the FBI, and DEA, and others just continue to do it over and over again. We just think back to the Oregon Christmas tree lighting plot, the Dallas court plot, the JFK airport plot. Yep. Over and over again, they get these confidential informants or undercover agents into the cells. And you're right, we can't expect them to continue to back close to 1,000 forever. The American people need to understand this is an extraordinary performance. And at some point, you can be very good and they can still strike us. But they have to be, we have to be right 100% of the time, and they only have to be successful 1% of the time.
Right. Chad, thanks very much for giving us some insight into this. Chad Sweet's a former CIA officer. He's a former chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security and is the managing principal at the Chertoff Group.
Thank you, Ali.
Now on to the world of politics. And now